They say that in the world of ultra-luxury engineering, there is a line you simply do not cross. For Bugatti, that line isn't just a suggestion, it's a law written in titanium and carbon fiber. We've been following the madness of the 2023 Bugatti Chiron Eurosport repair, but today the stakes have shifted from expensive to impossible. The last time we saw this beast, a crack was discovered in the transmission structure. In any other car, you'd pull the gearbox and move on. But in a Chiron, that crack is a death sentence. To fix it, the heart of the beast, the engine and the gearbox, must be completely ripped from the chassis. Before we dive into the chaos, make sure you're subscribed to Twin Power. We're broadcasting the Hyper Bugatti project, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when a garage mechanic ignores the CEO of the world's most prestigious car brand. Mate Rimac, the visionary now at the helm of Bugatti, didn't mince words when he heard about this project. He stated with absolute certainty that removing the drivetrain from a Chiron in a standard garage is not just difficult, it is literally impossible. According to the factory, there are only 2 places on the entire planet officially equipped with the manpower, the laser-calibrated tools, and the specialized expertise to perform the surgery. One in Germany and the other in France. Every other location is considered a risk. Rimac's message was clear. If you try this at home, you aren't just repairing a car, you're likely destroying a masterpiece. The possibility of Matt Armstrong stopping halfway, defeated by the sheer complexity of the machine, is the highest it's ever been. We are looking at a project that might end not with a roar, but with a flatbed truck heading to a French dealership in shame. To understand why the factory is so protective, we need an engineering break and look at what's actually under that paint. These scenes, captured inside the Bugatti factory and featured in documentaries like those from the German channel Feld, show a design philosophy that is light years away from anything mass-produced. There are only 500 Chirons in existence, and each one is a paradox, a blend of absolute beauty and raw mechanical violence. The production plant in Molsheim, France, uses a 4-platform system with one entire zone dedicated solely to chassis work. While your daily driver is held together with welds and stamps, the Chiron uses a monocoque, a single shell design where the passenger cabin and the cockpit are one solid unit. Every inch is crafted from carbon fiber reinforced plastic. I had to double check the figures because I couldn't believe them myself. The entire basic chassis and cabin weigh only 110 kilograms. That is the weight of 2 average adults holding up the structure of a car that produces 1,500 horsepower. This lightness is achieved through a cocktail of the most expensive materials known to man: magnesium, titanium, and aerospace-grade aluminum. Unlike most supercars, even McLarens, which use aluminum tubing for the rear, the Chiron's rear half is also pure carbon fiber. It is a seamless, rigid cocoon of technology that wasn't designed to be taken apart by anyone without a PhD in physics. Despite the warnings and the impossible labels, Matt Armstrong is moving forward. He admits he doesn't have the training, he doesn't have the specialized French machinery, but he has the car and he has a chance. He starts the day with a cold start of the V16. If you've never heard it, the sound is deep, majestic, and intimidating. We're talking about 16 cylinders, 4 turbos, and a symphony of mechanical precision that's about to be dismantled. Matt moves the car into the work area, a space where it will sit for weeks, perhaps months. His father is right there with him, equally excited to turn this garage into the 3rd unofficial location for Bugatti engine surgery. The plan is methodical but terrifying. Separate and remove every single outer body panel without snapping a single piece of carbon fiber. Matt begins by unscrewing the bolts along the sill, only to discover a characteristic of high-end design. Everything is connected. The sill panel is tied directly into the rear quarter panel. As he removes the black frame around the door and pulls back the insulation rubber, he's not just finding fasteners, he's uncovering the secret architecture of the car. He clears the fasteners holding the fuel tank cap, and finally, the first true features of the chassis are revealed. What stands out immediately is the lack of welds. This isn't a car, it's a puzzle. This version doesn't have a single weld in the main structure. Instead, it's held together by a constellation of titanium bolts. He moves to the roof edge near the door, separating more parts with a flow that almost seems too easy. But as any mechanic knows, the easy start is usually the preamble to a nightmare. Next comes the most iconic part of the Chiron silhouette, the giant rear wing. This isn't a spoiler in the traditional sense, it's an active aerodynamic component that functions more like the flap on an airplane wing. It's massive. Matt dives underneath to separate the ventilation areas first. The system bears a striking resemblance to the Porsche 918, but the scale here is much larger. Just 4 bolts hold the rear grille in place, and beneath them, the thermal insulation above the exhaust box, the muffler, comes into view. The design language here is a direct evolution of the previous Veyron model, a nod to the lineage of speed. After pulling the bolts from the inner corner, the upper carbon engine cover is finally free. And there it is, the full view of the bombshell. The W16 engine is revealed in all its glory, a mechanical heart that we will be discussing in great detail soon. With the engine exposed, Matt raises the giant fixed wing and removes it from his sightline. But the shell is still largely intact, and to get to the split, they need to go higher. As Matt starts loosening the fasteners along the wheel arches, he's not just turning wrenches, he's challenging a philosophy. You see, most supercars use steel bolts, some use high-grade aluminum, but on a Bugatti, almost every structural connection is titanium. These aren't just for weight savings, they are designed for extreme thermal stability. Think about it. The Chiron's monocoque is composed of over 320 square meters of carbon fiber. If you took every single individual fiber used in one car and laid them end to end, they would stretch over 2.2 million miles. That is enough to go to the moon and back 4 times. When you have that much tension and rigidity, a standard steel bolt would expand and contract at a different rate than the carbon, potentially shattering the chassis under the heat of the W16. But here's the problem Matt is facing. These titanium bolts are often one-time use. They are torqued to a specific yield point where the metal actually stretches to lock in place. By removing them in a garage, Matt is entering a territory where putting it back together might require parts that Bugatti has officially blacklisted. He's removing the armor, but he might be breaking the seal on a $4 million tomb. The rear of the Chiron dominates the giant active wing. It looks like it belongs to a Gulfstream jet, not a road car. As Matt dives underneath to separate the ventilation grills, the family resemblance to the Volkswagen Group starts to show. The ventilation layout bears a striking similarity to the Porsche 918, but the scale here is much larger. It takes only 4 bolts to release the rear grille, but what lies beneath is a masterclass in thermal management. We see the thermal insulation above the exhaust box, a shimmering, heat-reflective material that looks like a NASA space blanket. This is a direct evolution from the Veyron, but with one major difference: the heat output here is nearly double. Once the upper carbon engine cover is pulled away, we get our first look at the bombshell. The top of the W16 engine is revealed. It is a dense, metallic landscape of sensors, cooling lines, and 4 massive turbochargers. But to get the engine out, Matt has to do the one thing Mate Rimac said would be the car's undoing. He has to pull the wheels and prepare for the Great Divide. The next stage of the teardown takes us into the air. With the car on the hydraulic lift, the massive rear wheels, shod in specialized Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires that cost $10,000 a set, are removed. This is where things get intimidating. Matt starts loosening the inner wheel assembly, and for the first time, the car starts to shake. This isn't a normal car where the body is bolted to a frame. The body is the frame. As the carbon fiber wrapping of the rear quarter panel is pried away, the sheer scale of the parts becomes clear. The famous C-bar, the massive sweeping C shape that defines every side of the Chiron, is actually a structural masterpiece. It isn't just a piece of trim, it spans the sills, the roof, and the fenders, tying the entire rear of the car to the front cabin. As Matt unbolts the cladding, he's revealing the naked beast. The contrast between the shiny, polished carbon on the outside and the raw, matte finish carbon on the inside is jarring. It's the difference between a tuxedo and a suit of high-tech armor. The goal of this entire operation is to separate the power unit from the life cell.
This is the part that Bugatti insists can only happen in Molsheim. Why? Because the Chiron is essentially two cars joined in the middle. To keep 1,500 horsepower from melting into a puddle of molten metal, the car uses 10 radiators. 3 radiators for the high-temperature engine loop, 3 intercoolers for the quad turbos, 1 transmission oil cooler, 1 differential oil cooler, 1 engine oil cooler, and 1 air conditioning condenser. When Matt splits this car, he isn't just disconnecting a few wires, he's disconnecting a circulatory system that pumps 800 liters of water per minute. At full speed, the coolant circulates through the entire engine every 3 seconds. One wrong move, one pinched line, or one air bubble in this 37-liter system during reassembly, and the engine will cook itself in less than a minute. As the final titanium screws are removed from the lower sill, Matt finds himself staring at the cracked transmission mount that started this whole journey. The casing is torn, the engine is exposed, and the CEO of Bugatti is waiting for him to fail.